want to talk about religion. I want to talk about faith. I want to talk about what compels you to like move in the world. And so why is action, do you feel like, so important to your faith journey?
That's a really good question. Our fellowship is called Harvard College Faith and Action, so we obviously really value action. I think, something I learned coming to college was the importance of the body in worshiping God. I used to have everything in the mind. I was like, let's study the incarnation, the resurrection, and like, I love God in my mind, you know? Yeah. But when I have to put it in physical action, then I start realizing that loving in theory is so different from loving in practice. And it's also turned into the way I worship God. I worship him with my body now. I like use my hands like this when I pray to receive from him. And it's just like learning how to, I just think of that 1 Corinthians 8 verse where it's like knowledge puffs up but love builds up, and that's exactly what action does. It transfers head knowledge to heart knowledge for me.
I love that. That is amazing. That's true. What about you guys? Shared experience, similar or different?
Yeah. I feel like I always think about that verse, faith without works is dead. And I guess as I've grown in like my journey with Christ, it's something that I've been like more and more convicted about. And the great part is that action can take so many different, it can look so different. It can look like serving with people. It can look like being in leadership. There's just so many ways to do action. So in my personal life, I love working with people. So for me, action has looked like being there for others, like doing service. But I think it's so great that it can look so different for other people.
For different people. I love that. I love that. Do you guys run up against maybe some misconceptions about faith or misconceptions about who you are?
Yeah. I guess something that sometimes people like view it as like, you know, if I follow Christ or this faith, you know, I'm losing something of myself. Like, I'm losing what I love and I can't pursue that. But I feel like, you know, Christ really loves us and he wants to get to know you, and he wants to be able to use what you love for like greater things he has in storage for you. So yeah, I think that's like some misconception sometimes that I come across, and like he just so much loves us, and also he has greater plans for us, and he wants to reveal that step by step as we walk with him. And as we do, we get to see that, although we may not like necessarily see it at the beginning. If we just continually faithfully, like, you know, walking alongside with him, he reveals that bit by bit. And it's like, it's a beautiful thing to see, and something that I've like witnessed so much in my life.
When we are called to follow Christ, like, we do have to lay things down, right? That's hard. How can I do that? Like, why would God want me to lay these things down? But then, like, when you do that and when your eyes are open to see, like, wow, wait, but living in the fullness of God's glory and the fullness of God's grace and walking in community with him every day is crazy, and like it's so much better than we could ever imagine for our lives. But like, it is such a lie that the enemy constantly tries to feed us, that like you're gonna lose something. Your life would be so much better if you could do XYZ, or if you didn't have to give this thing up. And I have a very vivid memory when I was in high school of a friend like telling me once, she was like, I just feel like your faith is holding you back from like your truest self. And I remember feeling like, so first of all, I was like, how do I respond to that? But then I was like, oh, why would she, you know, like but then it was like, that's where it comes from, right? And like the enemy was even like trying to use that to be like, no, maybe she's right. And then God just was, no, like that is truly a lie from him. And like you have seen the goodness of my grace and the goodness of like my love for you, and like what that enables you to, like the life that enables you to live, and the joy that you can have in me that you can't find in anything else. So
it's so good. It's good, Camille.
And on that note of like specific experience, I do like remember like back in high school, you know, I got into this organization and I was like so passionate, ready to do it, but then, you know, God spoke to my mom and used her for me that, oh, this is not what I have in store for you. And so I had to drop it, but I was like in tears. I was so sad. But then God gave, like, he brought robotics to me, and like robotics was the highlight of my high school experience, and that was what I actually wrote my application to Harvard about. So I feel like sometimes we do think we love some things, but you know, God is the one who created us.
Yeah.
He knows what we love, and whenever we walk with him and we choose to like say, I want to see more of you, like he's gonna come to us and show us what he has in store for us, because what he has in store for us is better than anything we think that we have in store for ourselves.
Wow, I love this. You guys are like ministering. It's so good to hear you guys speak about how your faith is not just something that's on a Sunday or something that you got from your parents, but it's something that you yourself have very much lived. Like, tell me more examples. I feel like this is like a whole place where we can just camp for a minute. Tell me more examples of how your faith has become a part of your lived experience.
So I feel like for me, whenever I think of what it looks like to be a follower of Jesus, the first thing that I think of is like what that looks like in individual relationships and in the way that you interact with people. And I have just found so much encouragement in people that I meet, and I'm just like, man, like that's probably how Jesus talked. Like that's probably what he looked like when he was here, you know? And like I have like one very close friend from home in particular, where it's like every time we sit down and have a conversation, it's just she is just so kind and so loving in every single way, and she just makes you like talking to her just feels like a hug. You know what I mean? And that's how I want to be with every single person that I come in contact with. Is like I want people to walk away, and if they know Jesus, to be like, ooh, like I see Jesus in her. And if they don't know Jesus, to be like, what the heck was that like amount of love and grace that I just received? And like I know that is only like I can only love that way, like through him. I can only like forgive people fully through him. And like I think something that's hard too is like doing that, like loving people not because I want to be loved in return, but just because God loves them so much. Like, you know, it's like everyone is someone's daughter, right? Or everyone is someone's son. It's like like you want your kid to be treated with love and kindness, and it's like God wants that for all of his children, all of his people. He wants us to love, like he just cares for them so much, and he wants us to do the same. So I think that is like the first thing I think of when I think of like living out my faith, is I want people to see that.
When you were talking, you just remind me of the verse when it says like, you cannot say you love the God in what you have not seen and not love the brother in what you have seen. Like I'm always convicted by that, right? It's like I'm team Jesus all day, you know? Good. But it's like, it's in 1 John, it's one of those verses that's like, it convicts me because it's like, I love God. I love all things God, right? But it's like, do I love my friend when she pisses me off? Like, do I love my professor when he has an attitude and won't see me doing his office hours? Like, you know, it challenges me to show up, as you said, in love. And there's just something very powerful about how God describes love. It's patient, as you said, it's kind, it's relentless, it loves toward, it endures all things. It's just a beautiful thing. What about you, sis? Have you seen your faith kind of be a part of your lived experience?
I think listening here to what Camila said, I think also, I mean, this is definitely something, it's not the end of the road. There's always more learning. There's always more I have to grow in, which is something I've been challenged in and something I'm growing in. But just like that part of like learning to be more like Jesus, like your lived experience. And I think you put it so well with like, I want people to either, if they know Christ, like see that in me, or if not, be like, who did I just meet? And that's not like me, like not like I met you and it's like, that was Jesus in you. So that's something I think, hearing you now, like I want to go, and that's something I have to work on too.
It's really great.
I think college also is such a cool time because there's so many decisions to be made, and I can see how I've incorporated Christ into more of my life throughout college. At the beginning, when I was choosing my concentration, I did not pray about it at all. God was not part of the picture, which is why I ended up in social studies, but I still like it.
Is that a God right here? Is that like that? What?
No.
The most unholy concentration.
I love it. Kidding. God redeemed it. And now that I'm going through the career search process, I have just completely God has convicted me over and over again that he wants to be more involved. When I started looking at jobs, I was like, what job am I comfortable with? What salary do I want? What people do I want to be with? And then afterwards, I realized, I'm like, what if God's calling me to a company I don't want to be in because he wants me to witness to the people there? And so that has completely shifted my mindset about the job search. And I think that God's just showing me, like, I don't want to just be one factor in your decision. I want to be the driving force behind your decision, and I want to make that decision for you. So
That's so good. Yeah, I mean, I think that was just like such good comments about how the lived experience of Christianity flows through us. It's not just something, like I said, that's like curtailed over to just one day of the week. Statistically, your generation is the least churched generation. Institutional Christianity is said to be on the decline. But yet you guys are here so vibrant, so full of faith, and Gen Zers, you know.